Hi everyone, I'm your host Neha and you're tuned into Durian Dreaming, the show that brings you extraordinary stories from seemingly ordinary experiences in Indonesia's fast-paced market. Let's dive into today's conversation with another inspiring guest. Hi everyone, today on Durian Dreaming, we have Vivek Thomas, the Managing Director of AISensum, a leading marketing AI agency in Indonesia. With over 19 years of experience across Indonesia, Singapore, and India, Vivek has a unique mix of computer engineering and marketing expertise. He is the founder of Cadence, a market research firm which is sold for a whopping 70x return. And yes, later we will dive into the details. From winning awards to shaking up digital transformation, Vivek is all about using AI to drive change. And he's here to share his journey with us today. Hi Vivek, welcome to our podcast Durian Dreaming.
Hello, Neha. Thanks for having me here.
It's a pleasure to have you. Vivek, jumping from Cadence to AISensum is quite the pivot. So what pulled you into the world of AI? I mean, was there a sort of a light bulb moment that sparked this shift?
Right. Okay. So I think the early, being a computer engineer, I did get, let's say, I had experience with doing some kind of, I had AI was always there in my, let's say, vocabulary. But in 2013 is actually when I attended a conference in the US, is when there was a lot of talk. I mean, people started to talk about AI as well as big data. And I started to see real use cases come out, right? And at that time, I still remember, I was sitting next to Rajiv, who's my co-founder and, who used to work in Cadence, and both of us were there. I told him at that time, I said that, Rajiv, market research is a sunset industry and we need to get out. Okay. So, and at that time itself, I knew that, I needed to take this pivot and get it. And that time also, I wanted to get into AI. Okay. And there's a little bit of a backstory as well. I used to teach artificial intelligence around 2008 in one of the local engineering colleges here as well. And so I was always connected with AI, but I didn't think that, I would start and get into this business full time. And it's been now 7+ years of running AISensum. So that's perhaps the initial story of how I got into AI.
Okay. Vivek, can you tell us what is AISensum? And then I'll move on to my next question.
Okay. So AISensum is, we like to call ourselves a marketing AI agency. And what that means is that I want to help companies with their marketing campaigns using AI. Right. So that can be hyper-personalized campaigns. That can be AI vision where you use image creativity, or it can be a more complex kind of thing where you have cognitive systems such as RAGs, retrieval augmented generation, where you can ask questions like building your own chat GPT, but in-house. Okay. So this is what AISensum does. And we believe we are the pioneers, at least marketing AI in Indonesia. And that's how I'd like to introduce AISensum.
All right. So Cadence was a market research agency. And from there, you moved to a full-blown marketing agency, AI marketing agency called AISensum. Mm-hmm. Now, Cadence must have had its fair share of roller coaster moments, right? What's one challenge that flipped the way you think about growing a business now with AISensum?
Okay, so market research is quite an established business, right? Whereas for AI, all of this is still very new, right? So there are no fixed budgets. Does marketing AI borrow money from the IT budget or from marketing? There's this question mark already there. But so one thing which is different in market research versus, let's say, almost evangelizing AI is this evangelizing part. right? Because although everybody talked about, now I jumped into the AI business in 2018 and I thought that, oh, AI is the next big thing. And, people are going to just throw money at it but what I quickly realized is that there was a lot of talk, but no action, right? So people talked about AI, but nobody was committing to putting money on the table for AI, right? Whereas in market research, there's always a clear budget, right? Whereas AI has not yet, in at least in my case, there's no established business model as yet. Okay, so people are still experimenting on it. And so that is the big difference between, let's say, running Cadence, where I had an established business model, versus AI, where I need to constantly innovate and differentiate and pivot and find a way out, and convince customers to, let's say, buy the kind of services that we provide.
So, like you said, that it's at a stage where it still needs a lot of convincing.
Yes.
That what is AI and why AI versus a very established conventional agency like a marketing research agency that you had called Cadence.
Correct.
Because AI is everywhere and there's a lot of hype too. So what's one thing about AI that businesses keep falling for and how does it hold them back?
Okay. So right now, if you look at AI, right, there's always this, so I call it the disruption compass, right? So if you look at the disruption, so whenever there is new technology which comes in, that creates this disruption compass. And the disruption compass has three elements in it. Number one is that when you first saw ChatGPT, Neha, you yourself, I'm sure you were having awe and wonder, right? You might have been absolutely spellbound when you first saw it. Do you agree?
Yes.
That's one part of the thing, right? So it created awe and wonder, but other things suddenly happened to you as well. One would have been, and it happened to me as well, fear and concern, right? So on one side is awe and wonder, other side is fear and concern, which is, oh my God, will AI take away my job?
Yeah.
We all went through that. So there is this dichotomy there, right? So there is the awe and wonder, and there is this fear and concern about our jobs. And then in our businesses, we have one more concern, which is data confidentiality, right? So all these three things, they're pulling at each other. So we keep oscillating between these three things.
Okay. I read somewhere that AISensum is making some serious noise in the AI marketing space.
Okay.
What does that mean? So what does that mean? And then my next question is that what's the next big trend businesses need to jump on to stay ahead of the game?
Okay, right. So I think, okay, let me put it in this way. So let me talk about some few trends. Okay, not trends or predictions. Let's say predictions. Yeah. So today, I think both of us, we use AI, I'm sure, right? So what all of us need to realize is that human plus AI will be greater than human alone. And we need to accept this. Okay. If you try to fight this, you will be left behind. Right. So I don't want to fight this. And I encourage all the people, don't fight it. You have to adapt, because this is whatever you do, whatever your job is, you will really need to become this human plus. Because what is going to happen is that this human plus AI is going to make you a human plus plus. Got it? And when I say human plus AI, you would have noticed it's the human is still there. Have I said that the human is going to be replaced? No. We are going to become much better versions of ourselves. That is my prediction. Right? That's my belief, at least. There's also the counter belief that it won't. So that's one trend. Human plus AI is greater than AI. The second thing that I would like to say is that all of us will start to use what are known as agentic systems. And this is the human plus AI. We will have agents, these kind of agents which will assist us in everything, be it booking a ticket, to run a marketing campaign, to executing something, to analyzing some stuff. This will assist us. So we will, in the very near future, have these agents, And already you would have seen agentic systems being deployed in so many companies. Not yet that, but at least it's starting to come in. And so agentic systems definitely are the one which you will say. And maybe one trend, or let's say a prediction that I might have, commercial though it may be, is that I feel the day and age for consultants or market research agencies sunset. Yeah, that's my prediction.
So when you say that it's AI plus human, can I say AI plus the local or the cultural insights? Because you said only AI does not exist. At least you don't believe in it. It is AI plus human touch.
Yes,
which means
definitely.
that when you're understanding consumers, understanding beings, there's the cultural nuances that comes along with it.
Correct. So that's one part of the things. And definitely, I completely, agree with that part, right? So the human plus AI, the human is the ones which have got emotion.
Yeah.
AI doesn't have emotion. So that's a big thing, right? We are emotive creatures, and marketing, as you know, is handling emotions, isn't it? So we are actually, marketing is all about emotion management, right? If I can trigger an emotion inside you about my product, I have succeeded. Yeah. Okay. So can I just outsource that job to an AI? I don't think so. It's not a sentient being which has these kind of feelings. We as humans understand perhaps or empathize with other humans on all those ones. So we can understand and create those ones. So while AI can help us become more efficient, become more effective, it doesn't have that lasty emotion. So that's where we come in. So I can be a more efficient, effective person, but with my emotion, I become a human plus plus, correct? Which is what I'm saying. And this is the human plus AI, which I was talking. And that emotion is, if you expand emotion, what is that emotion? Cultural insights, right? Knowing the nuances of let's say, Indonesia, how a person in Surabaya is different from a person in Medan, which is different from a person in Jakarta, right? Now, if you've been in this country long enough, you know those kind of nuances. And perhaps AI doesn't know, and you can actually teach the AI, hey, there are these nuances. And so you can guide it in a way, so you give your inputs, and that will help you become more efficient and effective, right? So that's basically a good application of insights.
So then, you talked about blending AI with cultural insights, right? You've got any cool stories? You mentioned about Surabaya or, any other place in Indonesia. So any cool stories where understanding local culture took your AI strategy to the next level?
Yeah. So I can give you one recent campaign that we ran for, and it's because it's public, I can talk about it. So we ran a YouTube campaign for a brand called Fape, which is a mosquito repellent, right? Okay. And it's from a company called Fumakila, right? And what we did was, YouTube, right? On YouTube, you have the ability to do hyper local ads, correct? Meaning that you can target certain geographies, isn't it? That's the advantage of YouTube. So we pitched to the company and said that, see, why don't we create an ad campaign using AI, which can tap into the latest trends, but we will do hyper localization there, where the language used is East Javanese. So in Surabaya, there are dialect which is used is actually East Javanese. It's Javanese, but there is a separate style of speaking that. And in Central Java, the Javanese is different. In India, right? Hindi, which is talked in, let's say, in Delhi, which is very different from Mumbai's Hindi, right? They have their colloquial slangs, etc. So we were able to pick and what we also did was we were able to pick a storyline which is very culturally relevant to to those two locations. So in the story, we had a culturally relevant story and the language, and we used the power of YouTube's localization to target Central Java separately, East Java separately, and we had a Sundanese ad, which is West Java. Right, so we had Bahasa Indonesia, Sundanese, East Javanese, and Central Javanese. Now, for India, we have multiple languages, and we would do that separately. But in Indonesia, that is not very common, right? Because you just do it with Bahasa and you run it. And if you saw like the campaign metrics on that, right, we had lower CPMs, higher CTRs on all those campaigns, right? So of course the client also gets a much better benefit, right? Because if you have relatable content being shown, people will stop, right? Rather than waiting for the skip button,
Yeah.
they will be like, oh wow, that's cool. That's so unexpected, right? So I think that's one story of merging AI with local and cultural insights. That's one good story that I can share with you.
No, it is brilliant story, and thank you for sharing this. Even your globalization approach crushed it for Uniqlo in Indonesia.
Yeah.
Can you spill the beans on how it works and why it's a game changer for global brands?
Right. So global brands, they have their set boundaries and they have their set rules and all that. And again, right, I don't try to fight them. I will work within the boundaries, right? But again, that doesn't stop us from innovating, right? So what we did in the case of globalization is that, see, the content for Uniqlo is fixed from from the head office. So they've got the photographers and they've got the videographers. They make content like that, right? What we did was that we said, hey, you know what, we need to make this local. And so it's not just putting Bahasa words on that, but using, let's say, we used AI to create the same image into, let's say, 15 to 20 variations. Okay. And the copy is varied every time. It's varied. And we run all of them parallelly. So we run 15 ads at the same time. And we do a quick, it's like a massive A/B test, right? Within 2 days, we will know out of the 15 which work, right? Earlier, we would just do one. Now you've got 15 running, and now we know 2 of them work. And that's the one which continues with the campaign. The rest are switched off. This is a very simple way of adapting global content, but localizing it with our words, our style, our music, etc. And we put that in. And that has seen significant, if you see the every single metric on those campaigns that we have run, right? It's a 30 to 50% increase in performance. That's the kind of difference. And when you run campaigns like this throughout the year, right, it all adds up, right? Because, and therefore, Uniqlo today, when we started working with Uniqlo was top of mind, number 5 in Indonesia. Today, it is by far the number 1 in top of mind, right? And in terms of market share as well, it's become number 1, right? And it's not saying that, okay, we are the, game changers. We were the catalysts of change. We helped the brand. Okay, we played a small role in, taking the brand forward.
Oh, wow. This is brilliant stuff. Yeah. Uniqlo was a huge success.
Yes. Yeah. One of our best stories, let's say.
Okay. So, you talked about Uniqlo, which is the fashion industry. Then you talked about mosquito repellent, which is the CPG space.
Yes.
Now, if you had to place bets, which industries do you think AI is going to turn upside down in the near future, and why?
So I think one of the things which I did not mention, banking, BFSI. BFSI is a sector for me where AI is going to make massive changes. And you will see these things come out even in Indonesia in very near future. Okay, so for me, if you ask me to pick the industries where shakes are going to happen, BFSI in banking finance. Okay, the other industry, I feel CPG right now, FMCG is very, I feel laggards in terms of AI. There's some, basic like creative, those kind of stuff which are happening. I call it very basic. It's not yet gone into the real, like hyper personalization stuff, which is, taking it to a different level, or into like, more complex things like rags and all that. Not yet. Yeah. So FMCG is definitely the other one. And even pharma industry here, I think will, so these are the 3 industries that I would right now pick for massive kind of change. Pharma, you might have already, I don't know whether you recently, I read this news where already, like certain anti-venom, which was already discovered by AI. So new molecules new drug discoveries. There are already engines which exist, which actually can do mass testing of molecules. So you can engineer a molecule and test the molecule inside an AI. You don't really need to do this in a lab anymore. Okay, so these three industries, I'm picking these three sectors to be the ones where you will start to see massive changes coming, right? I hope I can, I can be one of those guys who can enable those changes, okay, at least in Indonesia.
No, I would also be very curious to see that, how these three different industries shapes up or shakes up rather with the AI influence. So we talked about AI in marketing, right?
Yes.
Actually, I was about to ask you, like what you did for Uniqlo. And, with the success of AI solutions, and in every campaign, there's an AI angle to it. What are the key metrics you look at to prove long-term impact? Because, marketers can be restless, especially the clients. So when they are running a campaign and it's on digital platforms, they expect instant returns.
Yes.
So from a marketer perspective, what are those metrics you look at to prove a long-term impact?
Okay. So what I would do is, let's say, let's take an example. Yeah. You were making content creation was taking X number of hours. And let's say resizing was taking, market, there are a lot of these resizing things that needs to be done and all that. These are all things which take a lot of time and have very low value. Okay. Now, in my opinion, those are the tasks which should be eliminated and replaced with AI. Okay. So now let's look at it. Content was content creation. One is, so can I make content creation more efficient? Can I make more variety of content? Right? Because today, let's look at it in marketing terms. Yeah. Today, what is the lifetime of a trend today? It's measured in days and weeks. Flashback 10 years ago, what was the lifetime of a trend? It used to be months, correct? So today, when we are in a TikToky world where everything is like, instant and changing, this is where I feel that, you want to improve your efficiency, you need to create a lot more content, you need to create it faster, you need to create more variety of content, you need to make it more efficient, right? That is where definitely AI can help you in both the speed and the effectiveness. And then when you post this content, it will definitely be better. The CPMs will be lower because you see, there is no fatigue because you're constantly changing, right? So your CPMs going down. Because you're constantly changing content, there is your CTRs will increase, your click-through rates will improve. Because why? Because they're seeing fresh stuff. We're not running the same, let's say, TVC campaign for 6 months. We're not. That's the difference. So I always suggest to clients, hey, we need to have more content in a more efficient way and relevant, trend tapping. Okay, so that will definitely help you. And this is something which is very tangible because you will start to see drop in CPMs, increase in CTRs, and straight away a direct correlation on your sales. Because once you do those ones, because you see, if your customer engages with you, that's the best kind of metric to tell you that, there is going to be future sales in this.
So, it's a TikTok world now, right? And tech is evolving faster than ever. So I know you talked about content creation, frequent content creation, like this is being always on, right? But anything besides that which keeps you and your team stay ahead of the curve in such a fast moving industry?
Okay. So there are three things that perhaps as marketers you can do using AI. Okay. And I put them into three buckets. The first bucket is what I talked about, which is the creative kind of things. You can do all that content creation. I will call it AI vision. So it's all about the eyes, vision. The other one is AI personalization.
Okay.
And personalization can come in terms of user experience and in terms of product personalizations as well. I'll give you an example of Uniqlo, and it's not yet come out, by the way, just a thing, and we have not yet sold it. Uniqlo has something called as UT-Me. Okay, UT-Me is you go to Uniqlo store with a photograph and they can print it onto your t-shirt. That's what UT-Me is. We came to them and said that, hey, there is this AI solution where, you can just say, you can give your name, you can write something, a kind of slogan for yourself, and give a theme which is their themes, either a Pokemon, because they've got the licenses for all of that. You press a button and it'll give you a custom design, which you can then print on the fly then and there. Okay, so that's user. So now I will have, like, you remember, I don't know whether you remember that campaign, Mera Wala Pink, Neha. You remember in Asian Paints in India, we had that.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay. So this is like that. See, I'm going to give you your t-shirt, which is customized for you in the moment, and no two t-shirts will be the same. Now, do you think you might want to buy those kind of things? So that's hyper-personalization for you. There's another one. There's a concept called as RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. This RAG system is a kind of a map to the library of files that you have. Because what it does is that you can query questions which will allow it to link data of yours. And this can run in-house within your premises without the data leaking outside. And that's called a CLM model. It's called custom language models. But you can create these CLMs which can actually sit on premise in your company, and you can query questions. Query questions like, okay, what is the top SKU sales in Surabaya? It'll give you an answer. Why did which marketing campaign contributed to these SKU sales? A more predictive question, and a more advanced predictive question. In the next 3 months, which are the SKUs that might not perform as well, and what action should I take to make the corrective actions? These are questions which you would ideally want asked. The answers reside in your data. It does reside. But it is about linking those data things together, making that data a CDP or centralized data platform, and having a good software which can actually query these systems. But it has to be custom built. The problem with OpenAI and ChatGPT, if you try the same stunt with ChatGPT, you put in 3 files. First, it will leak, and never do that. That's my recommendation. Because ChatGPT has been trained on a huge amount of data, and not only your data, it will give you a lot of irrelevant answers. Whereas these systems will give you and that is the future. I mean, I'm telling you, RAGs will be in every single organization in the next 2 years, or even maybe faster.
So tell me something, with AI growing so fast, ethics must be a big topic. So what's the one ethical challenge you think businesses need to tackle head on as they embrace AI?
Okay. So if you created content with AI, it's not copyrightable. That is a problem. Okay. Now, because for a lot of brands, they'll be like, oh my God, what if I'm, am I actually infringing on somebody else's copyright? Right. So these are all tricky, touchy topics. So I had this client of ours, and this use case is not yet in market, so that's why I can't tell you. But I can tell you what my solution to them was. So they said, how do we safeguard our interests so that we don't fall trap into this copyright infringement thing? So you know what we did? So we suggested this. I said that, see, here's how we should tackle it. So what we did was, a human generates the original photos. Okay. And we have hired 15 to 20 artists to actually generate certain things for us. I can't divulge too much. Okay. And that thing is the baseline for training our AI. They made hundreds of these things, okay, some diagrams, and we used the AI system to train on the original on the original images. Now what happens is, see, I have paid the human and it's copyrighted material. I have bought the rights. And you know what, in the future also, when I make a derivation or derivative out of their original content, I'm still paying them. So now you look at this. So now I have done a fair use policy, and this is the ethics. This is the correct way of doing AI. So we develop the system where we have a fair share. We pay the creators for their content. We train our AI machines on the content that was created only by them. And for every output which is created because of the machine based on the original content, we still pay them. They get a royalty. Fair use policy. And these are the kind of things which will come out. right? And this is where I think as an agency or as an AI practitioner, I want to have ethical usage. Yeah. So that's how you should do it, at least in my perspective.
Vivek, there's just so much buzz about AI, right? In fact, so much so that we've also talked about, AI growing fast and ethic concerns there. With all this noise, how do you really differentiate between the noise and a genuine or authentic innovation in AI space?
Okay, very, very, very good question. Okay, so here's how I would do it, right? So when something comes out first, like for instance, RAGs. Okay, I talked about this mythical thing which can merge multiple things and all that. It's a concept which is quite relatively new, right? But in the world of AI, when it first comes out, it will still be very raw. Like for instance, video generation from AI. Just about 9 months ago, or let's say 12 months ago, the AI videos which were generated were really bad, correct? But today, it's perfect. It is very difficult to differentiate between a human-generated one and an AI-generated one. So here's my 2 cents on this. When a new tech comes out, wait in the AI space, you can just wait for 6 months for it to stabilize, and then you can adopt it. If you go to Hugging Face is a repository of all the AI models, and we also have our models inside there. Okay, we also upload. It's free usage. People can use it, and it's also to learn from each other. On Hugging Face, in September, when I looked at Hugging Face, there were 700,000 models. Today, if you look right now, there are 1.35 million models. And these are open source models. Open source. Anybody can use it. So when some new thing comes out, initially there'll be a lot of hype on it, and then it crystallizes into the best models. And that's when you should, and I think it takes around 6 months. So to differentiate with hype and reality, I think just wait 6 months.
So the relevancy would go up further.
Yes. And that's where you should again get in, because otherwise they will get left behind for sure.
Okay. So then how do you see AI in Southeast Asia? Actually, let's put it in the AISensum context. How do you see AISensum shaping the future of this booming Southeast Asia region in the AI space?
Okay. So number one for me is, for AISensum, we continue to be evangelists of AI, because the disruption compass is still there, right? Most people still have fear and concern and data. Awe and wonder has not overcome fear and concern and ethics, and that's not there. And the way to break that is through education. And so we will continue to be that evangelist. We have to come and show you use cases, right? I need to come and show you use cases where with marketing AI use cases need to be shown to customers so that they start to think. So I'm slowly seeding these things, because, even with many of my clients, right? So I continue to do these kind of AI use cases, at least with people. We try to seed those kind of information with them, right? And hopefully over time, people will adopt it. My biggest job, I think, is convincing people to take that leap of faith, because the early adopters are very few here, very, very few and far between. I will need to convince them. So I think these are the 3 things that we need to do, at least in Indonesia or even Southeast Asia, right? Whoever I meet, I want to be that evangelist.
Yeah. Well, I really love this hammering or chipping policy of yours. And I think perseverance is the key. And especially, like you said, Indonesia is still slow in adopting AI. So the only way to convince the market or to educate the market is to keep chipping, keep drilling into them, keep showing use cases, like you said. So before we wrap up, one last question. What exciting stuff is cooking at AISensum right now? I mean, any projects you're buzzing about that we should keep an eye on?
Okay. So maybe I because many of them are not out in public, I can't really disclose too much, but maybe I can tease some stuff. Okay. One is this, we're doing a project for, it's not in market, so that's why I can't, talk about it much, is for the BFSI sector. So so I can call it mass personalization. So I can only say this much, that every single user of this BFSI will get a unique product in their hand, and it will be custom for them, and no two will be the same, and it has never been done before. That's one case. Another one I can tell you is in FMCG. Is we're doing something on stock counting using imaging. Okay. Again, it's involving imaging algorithms. It's really complex. So that's another AI use case, which will have a very good tangible impact for them. And I'll give a last use case, which is an e-commerce fraud detection. So in the e-commerce one, what we've done is that we have a fraud detection module. Okay. So if there are certain things which are not as per policy, this system can actually flag it off for the company, and then the company can take necessary action.
Vivek, thank you for sharing such a fascinating perspective on leveraging AI to tackle challenges like e-commerce fraud detection and inventory management. I mean, your projects are truly cutting edge, and it's exciting to see the impact they're making. This has been such an insightful and inspiring conversation. I have learned a lot. So thanks once again for joining us on the podcast.
Yeah, my pleasure. Happy to be here.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Durian Dreaming. I hope today's discussion sparked some new ideas for you. Don't forget to subscribe, share your thoughts, and stay tuned for more exciting stories. Until next time, keep dreaming big.